What was I playing earlier?
Sorry, let me know when to shut up so you guys can start your show.
Come on.
Yeah,
anything.
it starts incredibly dramatic, so just let us...
6:20,
here we go.
Okay. Kind of like a Buzz Lightyear ride situation.
Fever Dream-esque, but it was good.
A little fever dream. Welcome back to What the Podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
And together we are...
Ryan and John.
On the couch as always, the lovely Annie Skovmand. We've got Cara Tafolla at the helm.
Yeah, she's in the booth.
Cut to your,
She's cutting to her camera. Good.
Very nice.
Very nice. It's a chaotic mess around here these days.
Well, okay, hey, you're doing great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We've got a special guest today in the studio.
Special is debatable.
Yeah. Well,
there's many definitions of the word.
Oh my
Very
God.
true. You're right.
He's here to talk about his new album, Rough Drafts, Stories to Drink To. This is a collection of recordings over the span of 10 years, live at the Whistle Stop, as part of the So Say We All's Vamp Night. Please welcome Dallas Mclaughlin, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody. Thanks for having me.
Did I get all that info right? I wrote it down because I thought it was...
I really appreciate that. You literally opened your notebook to read it and then now closed your notebook.
Yeah, he's like, that's the last of fact finding.
And I lost my spot, so I will be searching for it.
That looks like such a... Is that the new King James notebook?
It is.
What is going on with that?
Super nice.
There's golden page linings.
It's super nice, and I'm sure
What
there's
does it
3
say on the
words
front?
on every page.
Note to self.
I love it.
I'm going to show it to you quickly, and then I'm going to show you again. I took notes for this week.
What's the next page look like?
Next page is blank, just like every other journal. So thank you.
True.
Wow.
Dallas, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Excellent.
Did we started?
This is it.
This
We've
is
now
the
started.
real show now.
We were talking for 45 minutes.
We were
and
talking
then you guys said we
for
haven't
a
started yet.
For the listeners at home, Dallas has been here for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
waiting outside
I've
the
been
door.
sleeping out in the garage. It's cold today.
A little cold out here in
thanks
CNT.
No problem.
You got all that information right.
Yes.
It is my new album. It's out right now on Apple Music and Bandcamp and other things.
That it
Tidal.
It's on Apple Music, huh?
I guess so.
I got the Bandcamp link, and I would have much rather listened to it on Apple Music. But
Well,
you
see,
sent me that.
Well, I listened to it completely on Bandcamp because the whole time I really thought about buying it. I was really considering buying it.
You can buy it.
And then I didn't.
Wow. This is a
But I listened to it.
odd conversation.
really
Because you guys could have had another point. For that
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Every intention of buying it.
Yeah, we don't talk intentionally until we start recording.
That's
so
right.
We kind of catch up on the
fine.
week, and it's the whole thing. So sorry.
Do you have an Apple Music account?
I don't.
Oh,
I have.
okay.
I'm
Well,
a
there you go.
Spotify kind of guy.
Oh, and it's not available on Spotify.
not available.
Yeah.
Was that intentional or
Yes and no.
because of the Joe Rogan thing? Is
Well,
that
not because of the Joe Rogan
Taking a
thing.
stand.
you
I
pulled
don't
out
care.
of Spotify?
He's taking a stand.
Well, Spotify, they got hit hard when I pulled out. They were
They
as
were
you can
pretty
see,
upset.
They're having a rough time.
That's
And
right.
It's all centered around my album not being available.
They're going through it.
So
it was
true.
devastating.
Listen, they're not getting the 10 cents per song that they would be.
Not from you, that's for sure.
There was a thing with Spotify that when I tried to upload the album and through the distributor, they it was delayed, and apparently it's all centered around the Joe Rogan thing. That like anything that's
no
not
kidding.
music was getting like extra time to be reviewed because every platform has to review it. The distributor has to review it. It's a whole big pain in the ass.
Wow.
Sorry, I don't know if we were
No,
allowed to
you're,
curse.
That's
you're
fine.
welcome.
You can say
be
just
like
about whatever you want on this show.
Okay,
so.
and then so it kind of pissed me off, and then I put it up on Bandcamp and was promoting that, and then a couple days later it finally hit Apple, and it never went up on Spotify, although that was listed from my distributor, and it didn't happen. And then I was like, you know what? I
good.
don't care
Come
about
on.
that. So I went in and I
Won't
took
promote
Spotify
it.
off the platform because they didn't want to put it up. Also, they just Spotify sucks.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're an artist, Spotify's not your friend unless you're Joe Rogan or one of the other big podcasts they support.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I had an album up on Spotify for 2 years, and I made $120 off of 12,000 downloads.
Wow.
And I had it up on Bandcamp, and I've already made 3 times that on Bandcamp.
That's
in
fantastic.
the span of a couple weeks. So like that's why I didn't care about Spotify. I mean, yes,
And
Joe
who
Rogan
needs it,
thing.
right?
I don't like Joe Rogan. I've never liked Joe Rogan. He's not my cup of tea.
Of course not.
I'm not a big fan of the N-word. I don't know about you guys, but
No, we don't. We actually banned saying it on the show.
that's
Yeah.
a bold stance. Bold
Early
stance, you guys
on,
made.
early on, we made that
Really
decision. and-
progressive show we got going
Yeah.
here. Yep.
So it wasn't necessarily because of that, but it made me more fervent in my decision to take it off the platform.
Well, there you go, right
Yeah.
there.
So there you go.
Let's talk about the album because I had, like
Let's
I said,
do it.
an excellent time listening to it.
Same.
I thought
And
it
not
was
purchasing it.
no, but maybe
I'm
after
going to
this.
purchase it. I didn't know you could buy it. I will buy it after this episode. I really will.
Well, if
You
you're on
will.
Apple Music and you downloaded it, I get a couple cents from that.
Okay, well,
so
then
that's
there you
fine. I don't discourage
I
anybody.
would rather
from-
give you all of the cents. So
Yeah.
I
I
appreciate that. Bandcamp, you can
Yes.
pay whatever you want. I think.
all right. Well,
I
then
think.
that's
That's
fantastic.
cool.
I don't know.
I think
I have
you're
no
right.
idea.
I
That is
didn't know it was for
correct.
sale because I was just listening to it. I didn't know you had an option to like donate money.
Apple
to it.
Music, if you download it, you technically bought it. Technically.
Yeah.
And then iTunes, you can buy it outright. And then Bandcamp, yeah, I think it's like $7 on Bandcamp.
I love
but
it.
it gives you a certain amount of free listens before you have to buy it.
Did you ever do like the
Oh.
guerrilla
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
production, like burning tapes or?
Oh,
you know?
My old band, we did a live CD and we didn't. It's a long story how we didn't have a label, but let's just say we burned a lot of bridges.
Oh yeah,
Some
sure.
would say intentionally, sure, and sometimes
That's punk rock, man. I
it
mean,
was. That was the whole point. Was really just pissing people off and not getting invited back.
it's the brand.
I love it.
It sadly was. Yeah, you're in your 20s. There's no rules.
Yeah.
Truly.
But yeah, the last album we put out was a live album that we just burned ourselves and made the most money we've ever made
love
off of
it.
anything. We just wrote in Sharpie "Back Right Alive" on it. That's all we wrote.
I love
It was
that.
great. It was
So
fun.
good.
Yeah.
The grassroots approach.
Guerrilla style, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have that. What I love so much about these stories is I feel like at each point I was relating to you, like, and in different ways, not necessarily like maybe your approach to the story, but I'm thinking about the one specific one is the very first one on the
Yeah.
album, the West Tech security.
So
Yeah.
So
good.
funny.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I figure you guys would be into that since it's about theater kids.
Yeah.
Like
Unite.
doing
Oh, no, we don't do that
nothing
anymore. We don't do that anymore. Okay.
like not cool at all and just
No,
looking
no.
for something fun to do on a Saturday night.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
it, man. That
And
was so
thinking they
it.
were the coolest kids ever. You're like,
So
we're
funny.
way above all those other kids who are drinking and
Totally.
doing drugs.
Totally.
We're way cooler.
TPing houses. What other kind of like mischief did you get into?
I mean, honestly, it was like we would do a lot of really stupid things. We used to do this thing called stunt. Was it called Stunt Riders? I think it was called Stunt Riders. We did it for a while. We even made stickers, I think. But there used to be this street in Claremont area.
I'm familiar.
I know.
Yeah.
Claremont's the best place in the world, and it has the best
That's
Mexican
right.
food that there is available to humankind.
Wow. Big statements made, man.
Not really big statements. If you've been there, you know.
Okay.
I know you're in Santee. You're
No,
around.
listen, I'm not coming for it. I believe you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Kind of sounded like you were.
I didn't want to have to get into it.
I don't know.
Listen, I know Santee loves their Taco Bell. but
Oh,
there's different-
geez.
Yes, they do. And
Well,
there's-
And so do we, yeah.
Chipotle.
we'd be lying if we said we weren't there on Friday night.
Literally Friday
I was
night.
Taco Bell 3 nights ago. There's no problem with that.
Yeah, no, of course
Yeah.
not.
But yeah, there used to be this big hill that went down called Ticonderoga, and it like went down into PB. And so what we used to do, instead of drinking and doing drugs,
Right.
my buddy Nick had a big, huge van, and we would open the van doors, and then we'd hold onto the doors, and we'd like glide our feet as we went down the hill, or like we'd lay on top of the roof and hold on to something random and try not to fall off as he was going
Stunt
like 50
riders.
miles an hour
Stunt riders.
down this massive hill. Yeah, it was really, really stupid. And we used to do it on Mount Soledad too. We try to like hold on to my buddy Matt Sanderson had a hatchback, and we tried to hold on to the door. Just hold on to the door and like Marty McFly it with our feet
Yes.
down the Mount Soledad. Nobody ever got hurt, which is very weird.
Very lucky.
Or
and
they're just
strange.
lying. I don't know.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Totally
it
like
was really
clipped
dumb.
a tree.
They're like,
and was
I'm fine. Fine. I'm fine.
Yeah, but we didn't do drugs. So there you go.
Hey, there you go.
It's kind of skipping to the end because, right? Because like do drugs and then do stupid stuff. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
like,
it's
get
like,
right to the point.
hey, let's
you know?
just not do the drugs and just do the
Skipped
stupid
over
stuff.
that whole phase or whatever.
What
Yeah,
just sucked
sure.
is you didn't really have a reason to do the stupid stuff. Like if you're on
Yeah.
drugs, like they're high. Like
we get it, you
But
know?
now you're just like, no, they're just
And you
bored.
were sober?
Yeah, they're just bored, and they were.
They did that,
They
yeah.
wanted to go. Yeah, we did Orbell Ditch for a very long time, and then again, this was like ages 18 to 24.
Sure.
And we were like out there, and at one time we were doorbell ditching in Allied Gardens, and which is a neighborhood in San Diego for all of you out of towners listening.
Kara knew
That's
it.
right.
She laughed.
Are you from Allied Gardens?
No, I just know where it is.
Okay,
just
yeah.
knows.
It insists upon itself, right? Allied
Yeah.
Gardens.
Yeah, it's a very
There it is.
It's kind of it's like they think they're Del Mar and they're
That's
not
right.
Del Mar.
Yeah,
right.
not
Thank
done.
you. They're the Del Mar of La Mesa. Let's just put it that way.
Oh wow, I love
That's a
it.
very
description.
geographical
True.
joke.
True.
Yes. Shout out to the Allied
yeah.
Gardens community.
There was a backyard party happening one time, and we were driving slowly, and our buddy Brian was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna go knock on the house," and I was like, "But there's a party." He's like, "Nah, man, it'll be funny." So we slapped, and he ran to the door, and he knocked as loud as he could, and then he ran back, and like 4 guys ran out from the side of the house after him, and we got in the car and we took off, and those dudes hopped in their car immediately
Just,
and followed
let's go
us,
get 'em.
and we just drove up the 15 North. And we're like, we're just driving until our gas, until we're out of gas. We're just driving. And I think we got all the way to maybe like Valley Center.
Oh my
and then they
gosh.
finally like turned
We
around.
just-
left us
Oh my
alone.
God.
Just kept going. Just had
kept
to go.
going.
It sounded like it was almost like, it was like a planned attack. Like as soon as he knocked, it just came from the
It was
sides. Like,
insane. It was like the quickness with which they mobilized was unexpected. Because
Very
I mean, we kind of just sat there for a minute
like,
because we were like, they're not going to get in their cars, and then they immediately did. And we were in
The
a nice
conversation right
Mazda.
inside was like, anybody ding dong.
anybody
just
knocks
Yeah.
on
I
that
swear.
door.
We heard
2
about
on the
these
right, 2 on the
guys.
left, flank.
We heard about this completely safe crime that's happening, and we're going to put an end to it.
I guaranteed that they were drinking and doing drugs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They're like,
totally.
someone did that. Just get in the car.
It's the stunt driver guys.
Yeah, we've heard about them. They don't do anything to anybody else. It's time to stop it.
Awesome.
I was
that out.
really impressed with the scoring that you guys had for that
you.
whole. Like you had all of this planned out. Where if like someone looks through the windows, however many points. If it's this close to the door, you
Yeah.
get this many points for stealing the sign. And you know what? That's totally something my friends would have done.
Yeah,
The humble theater kid. You know,
Yeah.
you don't underestimate him.
When you're a theater kid, you sit around and you write stuff down a lot for some reason. Either it's
Yeah.
like notes, or you're writing your own play because it'll
Yes.
be amazing.
yeah.
Or whatever you're doing random. Like you're always sitting there trying to think of stuff to write down for some reason. Like you guys both have notebooks.
That's right.
You're theater kids.
They're like completely
John
empty.
throws
Do you
it.
know
It's
how
empty.
many notebooks I have in my house? I
Dang
have
it, you're
so
right.
many notebooks filled with ideas I'll never do.
Yeah.
And you circle back, and it's like you're like, what does that mean? I know that meant something.
What's
Yeah.
that mean? And why did I think that was so
Yeah.
funny?
Yeah.
I have
Lonely pizza. What is
a
it?
lot of jokes.
That
I
meant something. That meant
Write that
something.
down? Seriously? Write it down. I would like to transition.
yeah.
You've been in comedy
Forget
for...
about my story album. Why
No,
would-
no, no,
why would we
no.
talk
Forget
about
all
that?
that.
Let's transition out of that.
No, I want to talk about how you got into comedy.
Sure.
Where did it all start for you with comedy? And
Well,
specifically?
I started back in. I was going to do some Fresh Prince joke. I started doing comedy. We all did the same. I don't know if you guys talk about it because it's
Yeah.
like taboo to bring it up these days, I guess. But we all did San Diego Junior Theater together.
That's
and
right.
Basically,
It was big in JT. Very big in the JT.
I was
community.
really big in J Company.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Yep.
No, I aligned with a group of people, as you do
Yeah.
in CYT. You align with like a group of people, and that's your group. And so this particular group of friends, we all really liked sketch comedy. That was like our favorite thing. Like Kids in the Hall, we would
Yes.
watch Conan and Letterman every night. Like we were out just doing random shit, and then we'd be like, oh, we got to get back by 11:30 so we can watch Letterman and Conan. And
Awesome.
And then like we had these things called VHSs. I don't know if you guys ever heard about
No.
VHSs.
We're not that.
Is that an
old.
old
But
people
it's
thing?
it's an
Yeah,
old
yeah.
people thing.
Old people thing.
1950s.
Yeah, yeah,
Seems
yeah.
cool.
Dust that
It's
off.
like polio. It's
right.
old
Basically
and-
dead.
Yeah, basically
okay.
dead.
Died out by
Well,
now.
I mean, with all this anti-vax movement,
hey.
I'm fingers crossed
Who
polio's making a
knows?
comeback.
VCRs and polio. We're
Yes.
coming back.
But we would give each other VHSs of Kids in the Hall episodes, or Mr. Show was like a huge thing for us because no one really knew it. It was on HBO at the time, and it was like that and Sex and the City were the only things on HBO. So it was like our own little club that knew about Mr. Show. So we would just watch those things forever, and then when we all graduated high school, most of us were like, "Nah, college is dumb," and
it is so.
It's a scam. Yeah.
It is and it isn't. I think if you know why you want to go, then it's not a scam.
Sure.
If you have no idea and you just want to go to college, then it's probably not going to work out for you. But you'll be at 7-Eleven soon enough.
With your philosophy degree, right?
Yeah, exactly. I went to college for half of a semester, and I actually did take philosophy. I took political science, and I took film appreciation. And film appreciation was amazing. And all we did was watch movies.
Oh, it's the best.
And the teacher I still remember her name. Her name was Chris Barkley. And she was the greatest teacher ever. She literally talked for an hour about why Lethal Weapon was one of the greatest films ever made.
Gosh, awesome.
She was important and wonderful.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so we did college, and then we were trying to audition around for shows outside. And, things in San Diego are like, well, sorry, we got our little crew. So it's like everywhere you go, you can't get a part because, even if you're at some dinky little theater, like I remember going to like Lamplighter.
Yeah.
Is Lamplighter a theater?
I don't think so anymore.
No idea.
I went there and I was like, I got to be able to get in here. You know what I mean? I have like awards and shit. And they were like, we've already cast that part. And I'm like, what? Like, it was just like, fuck you guys. You're in La Mesa. Nobody cares about you.
Like, gangly white guys, we're good there.
Yeah. But then I walked away and I'm like, I care about that theater. I wanted that part. But I couldn't get anywhere. So we just decided that I had a girlfriend at the time. Thank you. And not my wife, so 2 women I've been with.
At least two.
At least two. So she was like, you guys should just do your own show. And I was like, oh, that's stupid. And then she sent me a listing in the back of the Reader to rent a theater in Hillcrest. And it's I don't know what it is now. I think it's still there, but it used to be called Sixth at Penn. And they only did gay shows.
Okay.
Nice,
and it was like, I'll tell you about it in a second.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe elaborate on that.
I will, because it was the greatest. But so
ahead.
anyway, so we were theater. We wanted to do theater. All of us, our little group, ended up calling ourselves the Honking Geese, but all we wanted to do was theater. And we couldn't get any shows. And a couple people did go to college, like Matt Davis went to UCSD and was studying theater. And our buddy Jeremiah went to UCLA. Joe went to Occidental. Like some people did go to colleges. But we were like, we got to put on our own stuff. And so that's how we got into comedy was like, we like comedy and we rented a theater. So literally I rented a theater and I paid for it.
That's pretty cool.
And then I got the guys together and said, I rented a theater and we have to put on a show.
What
in
are we
2
going to
months.
do there?
And they were like, oh, well, what do we do?
How old were you at this time?
19.
You rented a theater at 19.
Now the price was very affordable. It was a little 32-seat theater. And it was like, I want to say like $150 for a 4-hour block.
Oh, love. That's
wow.
great.
And
we should do that.
it was super shitty. Like, I mean, the lights didn't really work very well. And they didn't do anything there. So anyway, so we rented the theater. And I said,
You basically rented a back room.
Yeah,
with 32 chairs.
With chairs. And we didn't know how to write comedy. We didn't know anything about it. So we read this book by Monty Python where they literally scripted every script from Flying Circus. They released a book with every script from Flying Circus. So we would read the book, and that's how we learned how to write like comedy. And then we would
good.
there was a documentary we watched about Kids in the Hall where they explained like their writing process. So we just stole that.
Yeah.
And it was like everything we just borrowed. Like, but the first script I ever wrote, I literally wrote on a yellow notepad in pencil. And to write copies, I literally wrote copies because nobody had a computer.
Awesome.
It was crazy. So that's how we taught ourselves. And then we just put on shows. And the first show was at this place called Sixth at Penn. And we went in the back, and there was all posters from the other shows. And it was titles like Cockfight. And our favorite to this day was Freshman Year Sucks. Because I'm like, that could mean so much.
So many
so much
things.
there. Why did we miss it? Like, we were so bummed. But there was like, we found dildos everywhere.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we were trying to figure out how we could put them in the show. Like,
Just hide them
guys,
around and
free
act like it's
drugs.
normal.
you're not wrong. Like
Yeah,
there was
exactly.
an idea of like there was a lot of black dildos, so we were like, if we put them in the corners,
No
and
one
like
noticed.
we just put them there,
won't see 'em.
and people could be like, why is there black? And like,
Like, you don't
It's
see
art.
that, do
You don't
you?
understand
It was art.
it. You
It's
know?
art.
but the early days were like, we did shows and we sold out literally every single show we ever did, which isn't to say that much because this theater was so small.
Yeah.
But by the time we did our second show, so we did that, and then we did like a small run, and then we did another show like 4 months later, and each show was like 2 hours, and we produced everything ourselves. Like we wrote it, directed it, did lights. We brought in other CYT kids who were just bored. Like I don't know if you guys knew John Smith. I don't know if you know John Smith. He came in and did lights for us because he just wanted to hang out with his brother Jeremiah, who was in our group, and yeah, I mean that's how we got into comedy. We just did that, and then we got bored writing one night. And we were like, we lived in La Jolla, like 4 of us all lived in this apartment in La Jolla. And they were like, hey, let's go do stand-up. And all of us were like, that sounds terrible. But there was an
Let's
open
do
mic
it.
night. So we went down to the Comedy Store in La Jolla and we literally wrote each other's jokes. Like we just wrote jokes for each other. And then we got up and we did them. And that night we were asked to be in the Best of San Diego from then on, like their show. And we thought that was the funniest thing ever because our bits were terrible.
Yeah.
Like
Just
awful.
awful.
But everybody else was really terrible.
Yeah.
So it was like, I guess we were just better than terrible.
Just because you were there.
Just above terrible.
Well, and we all had like stage presence. We were theater kids. So like we knew how to be on stage. You know what I mean? And we all like kind of quit except for some guys that did it that night, like went on to keep doing it. And they like, you know, I mean, it's kind of, I could ramble on forever about what they're doing, but they went on to like write on TV shows and from there. And yeah, the whole thing kind of blew up. But that's how we like got into comedy was we just kind of forced it upon ourselves because there was no other opportunities to be had.
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
that's just another example of the guerrilla approach. Like you truly never stopped just making it happen. You and the guys, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, nobody was going to do it for us.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, like, you could, like, half the guys, like in 2004, basically, we broke up. We did a little thing for Comedy Central. And this guy, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Comedy Bang Bang, but Scott Aukerman, who hosts that, used to host a weekly show in LA called Comedy Death Ray. And it was like the best thing ever. It was at this place called Imbar in LA, this little pizza joint. And it was $5 every Tuesday. And you could go and you would see who is now like the greatest comics working, but then we're like just on the tipping point of like breaking through. So like every Tuesday you would see Patton Oswalt and Louis C.K., Nick Swartzen and Maria Bamford and Jimmy Pardo, like everybody who's great would all be there hanging out because they're all buddies.
Wow.
And like we were comedy nerds, so we were just like, holy crap, like it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then Augerman came to one of our shows, liked our show in LA, and had us come do Death Ray a couple of times where like Andy Kindler would make fun of us. And it was the greatest thing in the world.
Wow.
And then like we broke up because the guys wanted to stay in LA. We had the same with Comedy Central, didn't work out. So half the guys stayed up there and like went to work doing other things, and then the other half of us stayed in San Diego and started doing bands. And then somehow, because of bands, I ended up writing on television, which seems like I should have gone to LA to do that.
Yeah.
But that's a lesson
That's
to you
the
guys.
secret hack.
If
Is
you ever want to start writing for television, start a band in San Diego.
I always say this about Broadway: is like just get famous doing something else. You know,
Easiest way
And
to
then-
Broadway, yeah.
Yeah, like
That's true.
Sting has no business being on Broadway.
Feels like it's harder
And he
to
made it
go
there.
through like the Broadway system to get on Broadway
Yeah.
than just to do,
Just
like you said,
be-
be successful somewhere else and just make a cut over to Broadway.
Yeah, just do the easy thing of booking Harry Potter when you're, 11.
Yeah.
And then go through that, and then they'll put you on Broadway.
Now, I will say this, though. I did see Daniel Radcliffe and How to Succeed in Business without really trying, and
Fantastic.
he was really great.
He's
He
really
was
good.
really
Oh, he was?
amazing. I was
Yeah.
really mad. I was like super mad.
You're like, I want to hate this, but I can't.
I saw it with my wife, who is a Harry Potter fan, and it was him and John Larroquette, who I always loved, from Night Court. If you guys were all dead then, but
no.
Yeah.
We're not alive.
I was blown away. I was so pissed off that he was good. You just want somebody like that to fail. You know what I mean?
Right.
just once,
1000%.
right?
Yeah.
Just once.
They break
Want it.
out into Broadway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
but you're
been
right.
succeeding for 10 years.
Like remember
Surely
Peter
you can't
Gallagher?
continue.
Peter Gallagher used to be like the biggest Broadway star.
Sure.
And nobody ever knew who he was outside of New York.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, you're right. Like all those other dudes just go back.
That must be so frustrating for people that are like trying to, make it on Broadway. And they just like, these famous people just come in and like do shows.
And they just
you're like,
offer. I mean, And to the same thing, like Hugh Jackman's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
But he waltzes in and they're like, yeah, Music Man. He's like, I'll do my take on Harold Hill.
Harold Hill.
Sure.
We've got trouble right here in the X-Men. That's a terrible riff.
That is right.
You can cut that
is right.
out. You can edit that out.
I want to get back
Are
to
we
the
live?
album a little bit.
No,
Yeah.
I wish we were.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. We're live.
We're live.
No, that's
live.
okay if you're not. I prefer that you're not.
We're not.
We aren't. And we will be cutting this.
That would have been a good
The whole
idea.
thing.
No,
Basically, we're doing a 5-minute
Oh,
segment
you know
with
what?
you
I
and the
just
rest of the
unplugged
stuff.
it and it's not working.
Oh, that's
Bummer.
fantastic.
This is a contrast to your last album.
Yeah.
Your last album being mostly one-liners,
Yeah.
which was fantastic. I also listened to that. It was
Thank you.
fantastic.
You started
also
out with
didn't buy that one.
one-liners,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, so, now I feel like I'm just rambling. So cut me off
please.
whenever I'm
This-
saying something.
this
This
is not
is
you, man.
This is the format. So.
So we did sketch comedy forever. Then I wrote for television, and then at some point I decided that I wanted to try stand up again. So my buddy Matt Gorney and I decided that we would go to a Blarney Stone open mic, Blarney Stone Pub, Claremont again, represent.
Love it.
And our friend Allison Gill hosted the open mic at the time. She was like, "Come in." And there was like 5 people there. And me, him, and Nick McCann, we wrote we decided that we would write jokes for each other and we would all do characters.
Nice.
So I wanted to do, there's a stand-up named Stephen Wright who's very, very funny. You've all seen him. You just don't know it.
Sure.
But he would do a one-liner and then it was like really monotone and then there'd be like a big break between and then he'd do another one-liner. And it was just like this really like very slow paced, but he's brilliant. I mean, he's so funny. So I was like, I want to do that, but I want to take it even farther. So I'll do a one-liner and then I'll like just stand there for a really long time.
That's
And then
brave.
do another one.
And
you
it's
know.
just long enough that it stops being funny and then starts being funny again.
Yeah, I
So
mean, like
incredible.
I'd have a beer on stage with me, and I'd like drink beer and just stand there. I wouldn't move, I wouldn't walk around, or I'd just stand there.
Jeez.
So it was really fun. And then Gorney's character was that he was a stand-up that went into a coma in 1984, and then woke up that morning and started doing stand-up again.
My God.
So
I
all
love
of his
it.
all of his jokes we wrote were from 1984.
That is so good.
It was really great. And then Nick didn't. He just helped us write jokes, but he didn't do stand up at the time. And so that's like how I started doing one liners. And it was really fun and really stupid. And then Allison was like, "You guys should come back and do it again next week." And then Gorney was like, "No, that's so dumb. I'm not going to do it again."
No.
But I did. And then it kind of just became a thing where I kept writing one liners and kept doing it more and more and more. And I got invited to do other shows. And yeah, and that's how I did one-liners. And then after a while, I just got really bored with writing one-liners.
Yeah.
Like I was really, really bored. They get really boring. Like that's why people like Dan Mintz or even Mitch Hedberg, like who can just sit down and just really hammer them out. It's so incredible to me. I just don't have the patience for that. So I started doing a lot of crowd work.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't want to do these anymore, so I'm going to retire them. So then in 2016, I had a notebook
Hey.
and I had pages and pages of one-liners written on them. And I said, I'm going to do every single joke in this book, regardless of if it's funny or not.
Oh my God.
And then I put it on an album. And that's what I did released it in 2016. It's called An Evening of This. And I was just totally drunk and trying my hardest to get through it without
through the
breaking
catalog.
and doing crowd work.
Yeah.
There was bets with the other comics if I was going to break and just do crowd work. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do the jokes. And I did. I held true. And it's a really weird album. But
It's great because you can definitely hear those moments where like, and there were a couple of jokes you like went back to,
Yeah.
and like because it didn't land or it wasn't received. I shouldn't say it didn't land. It like wasn't received, and you're like not. I'm gonna return to that one.
yeah, you're probably talking about the quote unquote joke of is Willie Nelson an Indian?
So funny, and not
That's all
and
it
not
is. That's all I say.
and
That's a
that's
one-liner.
funny, but that you keep like going back to the well.
I went back to a lot.
Hilarious.
Just again, if you haven't been able to tell, I really like making people uncomfortable when I'm on stage. So
good.
like just to kind of test what'll happen and see what'll happen.
Yep.
I really enjoy that. So like I kept going back to that joke, and I'd comment on the jokes that were bad, and because there were so many bad jokes in that book, but I had to do it. It didn't matter. A lot of When I went back and listened to it, I hadn't listened to it in forever. When I put out the new album, I went back and listened to it. It's like, God, there's some terrible, terrible crap on this. But during the pandemic, I put it out again.
That's right.
I took it out and then I put it out again because we had a bunch of friends who were in theater and they all didn't have work. So like I started doing stuff online to try to raise money for different people and different arts groups. And so I put the album out. And so any money that's made off of that album goes to arts groups still to this day. And then we did like online trivia, and raised money for arts groups and stuff like that. And,
awesome.
It was fun. Yeah. So that's why it's even available. Otherwise it probably wouldn't be out.
So good.
Noble causes with terrible things.
I love it. We talked about just briefly before the show started, the series you were doing with your daughter where you were cooking and you were just like posting videos of it, seemingly just for fun. And, and it kind of makes me think about like all what you're saying, like raising money and going through the whole pandemic as a comedian. Was that, I mean, that's kind of like a cop-out question, but like what was that like?
It was great. It was great.
Super nice.
I really don't like doing stand-up. I kind of got myself into a hole.
Where you're the stand-up guy now, or?
Well, even with this new album, people are like, "Oh, you got a new stand-up album." I'm like, it's not stand-up. It's like storytelling. And they're like,
yeah, it really is.
Okay, so like stand-up? And I'm like, nope.
I am standing.
Yeah, and there are jokes. There are plenty of jokes, but it's like, it's all very structured, and it's essentially me reading you a story that I wrote.
It was really good.
I think that's what I liked about it so much. It was like you were just taking beats where I thought there was gonna be like, oh, like here comes the punchline. It's like, yeah, and then you just say something honest about your grandpa, and I'm like,
oh, that
wow,
one.
That was.
Can I say that bit from your new album? It kind of wrecked me in like the best way, because I was like, it was so hilariously funny, and yet it was like this beautiful artwork that was almost like a beautiful eulogy of your grandpa in itself, And I know the story was about writing the eulogy about your grandpa, but like the whole thing, and then the way that it ended, I was telling Annie, she came a little earlier, and I was like, I listened to it and I laughed so hard, and then at the end I got like kind of emotional, thinking like, wow, you really encapsulated, the feeling of losing someone. And I know that comedy sometimes is about pain, and sometimes partners side by side with like, that's kind of where some of the comedic relief comes from, like hard times or pain. Does that ever correlate with you, or what?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in like a horrible, shitty environment. I'm Irish Catholic, so it was like anger and guilt at every turn, but also joyous happiness for no reason. Like my mom was incredible, my grandpa was incredible, but like I have a brother and sister, and they're not around. So there was a lot of like fighting and stuff in the house, and I was too young to really like care.
Yeah.
And it would just bum me out. So I would just make jokes about it. I would just like riff and try to ease the tension in the room. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And so I think from an early age, I mean, that's why I gravitated toward theater as well. So it's like an escape, and it's a way to like feel something different and connect with an audience on a different emotional level that you're not necessarily getting other places.
Yeah.
So like when I started doing comedy, it's like when I started writing with this group, So Say We All in San Diego, which was about a decade ago, they do this monthly show at the Whistle Stop, and somebody kind of said, hey, you should come do this show. I just did it, and it's really fun. And I wrote this thing for them about when I was at Horizon Junior High. That's where Horizon Junior High. I had a scholarship to play basketball.
Told you guys it's a real school.
There's a real
Not
school.
anymore.
Not
anymore.
Listen, God has a plan. God has a plan.
And I truly believe
The
he still does.
Panthers will rise from the ashes.
They'll be back. They'll be back.
Listen,
It's a
you can't,
incredibly large pile of ashes.
You can't keep a good school down that just constantly hates on homosexuals. You can't do it. It's God's will.
They will, and they'll. You know what? And they'll be back doing what they do
The
best.
oddest part about my experience at Horizon was the principal that made me literally hate life is now friends with me on Facebook.
Sure. Classic.
It's been nothing but sweet to me. And I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, you ruined my childhood. But he's like, I think he feels bad for all the terrible things he did. Some people just aren't meant to be principals.
That's right.
Anyway, But I went to Horizon. I had a basketball scholarship to play at Horizon. That's what I wanted to do with my life was basketball. And I hurt my leg, and I couldn't really play anymore at a high level, so they took away my scholarship, and I couldn't afford to go there anymore. So I wanted to perform as well, and my mom sent me to SCPA, where I went from like I'm in like a very rigid Christian environment to like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes.
You know, this creative performing arts.
yeah.
Everyone's gay and like, but it was like the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me because I actually learned that, you know, people are humans and, you know, shouldn't be mean for no reason. And also learned that maybe God is not real. But I, that's besides the point.
Hey, he's sure
that's-
not at SCPA. I'll tell you that much. He's sure not
He
down
was
there.
actually. What's funny about that is like I felt him more at SCPA than anywhere else.
I'm sure.
But anyway, so it was like I wrote that was my first story I ever did was So Say Well was that transition, and I don't include it on any albums. I won't because it's not good. But like that was the first time where I was like able to sit down and like tell a story that like had part of me in it.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't writing a sketch, you know, it wasn't writing stand up. It was like, I'm like taking people on a journey and this sounds so pretentious. So feel free to throw something at me, but it made me feel like good, really good about what I was doing. And so that started the path of telling stories and going like, and using my past going like, I bet other people had this issue or I bet other people felt this way. Like, how do I make that connection that like, you're not alone?
Yeah.
Which just sounds way even more pretentious.
And it
But
is.
it
And
is.
we will
Edit it
include
out.
that.
Please edit
We
it
will
out.
include that.
Just
That's
me
why-
saying I'm pretentious.
Just 10 minutes of
A
that.
compilation of that.
But anyway, so I did. That's the longest way to answer your short question.
No,
But-
no, yeah, that's perfect. No, and that's why when you say like you don't like doing stand up, that you're kind of a storyteller. I fully I agree. Like you are an incredible storyteller, and the way that you wrote that and the way that you delivered it. I mean, that specific one really stuck out to me, and I was kind of touched by it. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah.
It was really
Absolutely.
sweet. Yeah.
Oddly enough, I get for that and that one and the one about pickles. I get the most feedback on those two. So
That
I was
was
happy when you
good.
guys brought up the West Tech one because I was like, you're one of the few people that have brought it up to me. But
I love it. And I was telling Cara in the car on the way here is your Viejas story. Absolutely floored me. I was like on the edge of my seat the entire time. Like, and then what happened to Colin? Like, and then they're in Mexico. And look, I'm not gonna spoil it, obviously.
Don't
If
tell
you're listening
the
to the
story.
podcast, you should just stop and head on over and
buy
binge
the album.
Yeah.
Buy
Buy
it.
it. You know
the
what?
link will be
Don't be
below.
like
The link
Ryan.
will
enough
be
dragging
below.
your feet. Just buy it.
yeah, just
okay?
buy it. I mean, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
no, no,
really
no,
nice.
Rough drafts, stories to drink to, available now.
Look at that.
Yeah, dude. You click the link.
right here. It is. It's probably
No, it
here.
is. It is right there.
Oh, no.
No, yeah.
the camera's on me, it's
I'm glad you
here.
like the Viejas story.
Back to you.
Oh, it's right here.
It's back to him. All right.
Oh, you're
I
like
did.
running an iPad thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
she's-
Cara is
Olivia-
the heart of the show.
I wasn't joking. She kind of does
Quite the
everything.
production.
God, I look like
There he is.
such an idiot.
You do, and I wasn't gonna bring it up, but now that
No, you brought it up.
really- I brought
Let's
it
talk
up.
about it.
Okay, great.
what's your
When
your
you go
look
bald,
these days?
you got a few options.
Hats. So you're into hats.
I've always been into hats.
That's good.
Which some say is why I went bald, but I don't really
Really?
agree with that. I don't
Is
know.
that
It's
a thing?
It's a
Conspiracy
chicken and egg
theories.
thing. I think.
People
That
claim that
doesn't
that's
seem right.
people claim that's how you go bald if you
That's
aren't
kinda
supposed to. I don't know. What
I
it is.
submit that if you were, like
Were
if
you
you're
just
gonna wear
pointing
hats
at-
more.
She was pointing at Ryan.
No, okay.
Cara was making
I
a
will
whole
say-
statement.
My
on camera.
grandfather famously went bald at like 25. And
Yeah,
Okay.
but it goes from your
It's your
And you know
mother.
what?
It's your mother's
on the
father.
mother's side. And you know what? He was a hat guy.
See, my mom's
Yikes.
dad thinned but did not lose his hair, and he was 94.
Bastard.
So
Yeah.
I don't, but yeah, I started thinning myself at like 27 is when I started thinning. 27, and I was really bummed. I was very, very
Cool.
bummed. I did that thing though where I made like I did a mohawk because I was like, I'm not accepting this.
That's
Oh,
right.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
And it
That's
looked
right.
Like a grieving
horrible.
period?
It looked really bad.
long time. You're like, I'm not letting this go. I'm gonna make this
No.
work. And
I
then-
dated a hairstylist third girl.
Three.
Three girls on the
Three
tally.
now.
If you're
It's not a
keeping
big
track
deal.
at home,
It's not a big
It's not
deal.
a big deal.
you got the wife, of
I
course.
got the wife.
Number
That's-
one.
That's old habit.
Number one got you into comedy. Number two,
Yeah, that-
just
Hairstyle.
prolonged your
We gave her
couple
a lot of
hairs
credit.
on top
She
there.
We
did.
got you into comedy.
She literally saw that I was thinning and styled my hair in a way where I wouldn't be able to tell because she was embarrassed about it. So
She
if
was
I
embarrassed
wanted to
about
do,
it?
if I wanted to even do something about it, by the time we broke up, it was too late.
That's an
Whoa.
incredible amount of
Wow.
gaslighting.
When did she tell you that? When did she tell you that she was embarrassed by
She
it?
didn't tell me that. She told other
No.
people.
Oh, and you found out?
and I found out about
That's the worst.
That's awesome.
That's the worst.
Actually, that's
So
really funny.
just keep your mouth shut if you got bad opinions.
Yeah, hey, you're not going to say anything nice. Don't
it.
say
It
it
hurt.
at all.
Yeah, it hurt
Did
a
you,
lot.
in the process of writing
Love that
these
you're asking a
stories
question
down,
while looking at your watch.
yeah, no, it's a curse.
He's
it's
like,
really a curse.
how much
Yeah, it's the
longer
worst
do
thing
we
that's
have?
ever
The
happened.
fact that both of you have wristwatches is fascinating.
Speaking
to me.
of, they're fake. It's fake.
Is it Apple
It's an
Watch?
Apple Watch.
Oh.
Oh, come on.
So
Everyone's
I'm
got
just
Apple
a
Watches.
stupid
You know where mine
millennial
is? At
that's
home on my desk because I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
Really?
It stresses me out. Because of work, I get like just a shit ton of notifications, so I cannot.
Yeah. See, I'm a broken man now. Is I have other watches and I
get
can't wear
it.
them because now I don't feel my phone in my pocket.
I
I'm
was
like
in a
just
rehearsal
looking right here.
for a show when I first got my first Apple Watch, and I kept getting notifications. I didn't know what to do about it, and we're doing a read through at the table, and I was like, and the director literally turned to me. He's like, "You got somewhere to be?" And I was like, "Oh no."
That's the one
That's
thing I'll
the
say about
worst.
the text is I'll be somewhere, hanging out with somebody and I'll get a text. I'll look down and some people will go like, "Oh, am I holding you up? Like, you have
Yeah.
somewhere to go?"
I
And you're
hate
like,
it.
"Oh no, I was just
I hate
looking
it.
at a text. Like, I promise, I don't have anywhere to be." But the people get weirded out
Which
by
is
that.
different because I do have somewhere to be. But
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So-
where do you gotta go?
yeah, just anywhere else.
Oh,
you know,
that's
just
fantastic.
not here.
Yeah.
If I can go there, that would be great.
That'd be great. Yeah. We'll wrap this up.
No, it's okay. Okay, no,
Thank
there's
you.
a great. Okay,
Thank you.
Okay. Wow.
just confirming my chiropractor
Yes.
appointment for the morning.
I'm just paying attention to something else.
Yep.
My question for you
Yes.
was, in writing these stories, did you have any because they all seem like you come to these realizations in your life and it's very open and shut, and that was a chapter of Dallas's life. Is it as clean cut as it sounds? Did you make any big realizations? Was this therapeutic to you?
Oh God, so you're saying that you listened to every story and you felt like there was no conclusion to any of them?
These were just little small pieces of a bigger vision that I wasn't getting.
I'm saying each one feels like
A
you
chapter.
came to a conclusion.
Yeah. Yes, I would say that they're all fairly written to a T personally.
Sure.
There's a lot of things in the story. There's some names that aren't in the story that are real names and stuff like that, stories. But they're all it's tough to sit down and write. It's so easy. I don't know. I mean, I imagine you've all written,
Yes.
done your own stuff,
Yeah.
but it is the hardest thing to write is to find an ending to any story, even though in your head you're like, I know how this ends. But to actually sit down and do it is the hardest thing ever. And so for these, since they were all very personal, it was going back in time a lot of the times and going what did I learn from that experience?
Yeah.
And most of the time it's fairly simple.
Sure.
What you do learn. So you're well, how do I make that interesting? My grandpa's story, for example, was just I learned I should just probably be better to other people.
Yeah.
And it's that's
Yeah.
really simple to say, but
Yeah.
how do you make that appealing?
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's the same thing, or the pickle story. I learned to like pickles.
People change, John. Do you know that?
People
Every 7
change.
years, you become a different person.
No, really.
Is that true?
Supposedly,
That's what he says.
I've been behind.
He's been saying
Supposedly
that for a long time.
the,
Is that
the
why-
taste buds.
About
So your
6.5
taste buds
years.
change.
He's almost there. He's almost a different person.
Next year I'll be
in a half year. He'll be
full
done
form.
with this bed. I want to tell you that much.
No,
Change
yeah.
something else.
Is every 7 years your taste buds change, right?
Yeah.
Is a thing that people say
Sure.
for whatever reason, based on nothing. But apparently
that.
your taste buds.
Yeah,
I know,
I've
but,
been told that as a child that one day I'll like
I know
tomatoes.
it's a scientist who knows
like
what he's
tomatoes?
talking about.
Well,
but
avocado.
here's the why. Are you ready for the why?
I get
Yeah, I'm
that.
ready for the why.
Tomatoes on a burger are just sloppy. Just
Yeah.
sloppy. Yeah. I'm with you.
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Hey, sorry, we were having a bit right
This is
here.
connecting
growing
about
pains with
tomatoes.
me. You know, Annie's got
yeah.
her own podcast.
She's got her own pod, yeah.
And
Yeah,
she
I was
will
a
not
guest
hesitate
on
to
this
tell you about it.
podcast, and then
And she stayed.
I became crucial.
Wow,
they needed
enveloped,
me.
They enveloped
Okay.
the podcast.
If you keep that up, we're gonna have to.
Oh, really? Are you going to cut me from the podcast? You're
John,
really
I'm
here's
not
the
saying
thing.
we could, but we
Is
we definitely
supposedly
could.
okay. Relax. Every 7 years, every cell in your body has died and has turned into a new cell.
Regenerated.
Thank you.
Thank you,
It
Cara,
just
from the
dies.
side.
But also,
It just dies.
Decaying.
Like in
Annie's-
that process, in those 7 years, you are technically a completely new person. Only technically.
well, Annie, I don't know if you know this fun fact, but Annie told us that at the age 25,
You start
yours-
decaying.
You start decaying, and your cells don't regenerate at that point. So your body starts.
You're
no,
losing
no,
more
no.
cells than you're making
You're
at
lo-
that
there you
point.
go.
That's what
There you go.
You
there
don't
you go. Okay,
truly start to decay.
Okay.
No, you do. That's slowly.
until you're dead.
well,
That's
that's
To each
actually
their
up
own.
for
The point
debate.
is, Dallas, is that your stories resonated with this crew specifically because a lot of them was like what people who we perceive people to be, and then who they truly are. Like
Yeah.
once you get past that first
Yeah.
layer, and and a lot of them, even the Vieja story, the Grandpa story, the Pickle story, like that's not lost on us. That like, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And listen, I can tell you from example or just personal example that once you turn 25, you start decaying.
Thank you.
I've been
Thank
feeling it
you.
forever.
Science.
Thank you.
Science and
You turned 25 last year.
Yeah, it was a tough year.
That's right.
Tough year.
That's
A
right.
tough year. My wife was somehow older than me all of a sudden.
Nice.
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 Yeah. I go back. I'm Benjamin Buttoning. Benjamin Buttoning.
Okay.
How do you say that?
He
That's
is
good.
binge buttoning.
No, yeah. I mean, like
That's
every story that I have is I try to find something that will resonate within it, and then just wrap it up. So there's some that are like, the Vieja story it wraps up with just me being like, I mean, honestly, the crux of that story is like I was racist, and I didn't know why, and I shouldn't do that. And
Sure.
also, my friend was insane, and we should have said something, and we didn't. And there's a whole other part to that story where we should have said something and we didn't. And it's upsetting. So it's like there are lessons to learn. Like the next album I'm putting out is all like stories about like the jobs I've done and the stuff that I've been a part of.
Oh wow.
And so like it's like a different tone in general. And I'm like thinking about it, like as we're talking, I'm like, do I have any lessons that I learned in there? Like they're all kind of me just like causing problems and like getting fired. Like, did I
Is this
learn
one-
anything?
Please.
You're like, this is what happened to me. Learn from this.
Yeah, that's good. See, there you go. Thank
Can you
you.
tell
It's
me it's called Final
lessons for
Drafts?
others.
Because if it's not,
Final Drafts.
revised drafts,
I
and
was
it's a
going to ask
trilogy.
about the name, how you came up with the name, because you do casually call them drafts, but all of the elements of this album are like really good. I mean, I know that was the intention, but why'd you call them drafts?
Well, because like I like beer and
It's a play on words, John.
to drink
Play
to.
on words.
Drafts.
Got it.
The album
Yeah.
cover
I was
is him
thinking
pouring
drafts,
a draft.
like in your
that's-
drafts.
Yes,
you know what I'm
they're-
saying?
Both of those definitions
All
work.
right, well, that makes sense. Sorry.
Yeah, the album was originally going to be called Stories to Drink To, and I was like, that's kind of, I don't know, loosey goosey. I don't know. I just felt weird about it, so I sent it to some friends, and I was like, hey, what should I add to this, or should this be it? And then my friend came up with Rough Drafts, because there's somebody that came up with Final Drafts, but that is the name of the New Village Arts New Play Festival that they do
Final
with
Drafts.
a beer company. It's called
Yes.
Final Draft.
Dang.
And so I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. And so then we landed on Rough Drafts.
Maybe the next one can be revised drafts.
The next one already has a name.
Cool.
So-
Cool.
So yeah, Ryan, if you
I
just
will
want
not
to
be
step out of the
collect some
process,
royalties,
Sorry.
and
Seriously?
it's just not going to happen for me.
Let it go,
I
man.
appreciate that.
That's right. That's
Revised
right. I'm all
drafts.
about the
Revised
full
draft.
circle.
Full
thing.
circle,
Yes.
the vision,
The
the long-term vision.
You need
Stories to drive to.
This is part of the Dallas
Wow, there you
cinematic
go.
universe,
the Dallas.
right?
Pretty
I mean,
good.
it's
That
got to
is
be.
pretty good.
No,
yeah.
yeah, please. I would love if I get Sebastian Stan to show up at some point. that
Oh,
would be
man.
solid.
yeah.
I'm not a gay man, but
Tell you what.
But he did play at that theater, so
Wow.
there you go.
There he
See?
was.
Dang.
He did. Wow. My freshman year sucks. Winter Soldier
Gay
year
shows.
sucks.
He was there.
Winter
Soldier
year.
No,
man.
well, I'm glad you guys like the album. That's nice that you listened to it. I just did a
Yeah.
podcast where a guy was trying to talk about it and clearly did not hear it at all.
Didn't listen to
I was
it.
just like,
Oh,
that's very
really?
funny.
you're like,
Yeah,
this
it was
is
very funny.
fun.
No
this is
way.
cool.
Yeah, so I was just like playing with him because I could tell that he didn't know what he was talking
You're
about.
like,
So I
hey,
was
what
just
about that
dicking around.
dragon story?
So wait,
You're not far off.
Pretty
You're not
crazy.
far off.
What
I
was
doing.
what was it tell that
How
he hadn't
possible?
listened to any of it?
I feel like it'd be
he
obvious.
just read the titles.
byline, yeah.
So he was like,
so
yeah,
what is a rough draft?
He's just like, he brought up the Viejas story, and he like just didn't know what it was about. He thought it was about Viejas.
Poor little guy.
And so I was just like, yeah, man, we lost
He's like, so
everything. Like we just,
so
I
you're
was
a
like,
big
going
gambler,
on.
right?
Yeah, totally. He's like, what do you play? What's your game? And I'm like, it tells you
did
in
you
the
listen
story
to the
what we
story?
played.
Yeah.
Like, so it was really funny.
Yeah.
But it's all right. He's a nice guy.
Sure.
I appreciate him giving me time. But, fuck him at the same
Yeah.
time.
At the same time,
Exactly.
Hey,
you know what? Screw it.
2 seconds to listen to it. You asked about comedy in the pandemic a long time ago.
I did, yeah, and I kind of thought
Oh,
about that,
shoot,
but I
did
let
I
it go.
Should we let it go?
Yeah,
Let's let it go.
I mean,
I
just
did that show with my daughter. You can find it on YouTube.
pretty good stuff. It's
called
I will
Quarantined
say.
Kitchen.
She's fantastic.
I
We're
wanna
also
bring up your
on
daughter.
Instagram. What?
I want to bring up your kids.
Please.
That sounds kind of weird.
go
I wanna
ahead.
bring up your
Go
kids. Well, I've been listening to a lot. I really love watching comedians, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. Hence why I'm on 2 podcasts. Just can't get enough.
Lame.
But it's interesting because a lot of people in comedy like don't necessarily want their kids to go into comedy or wouldn't want their kids to kind of follow in their footsteps of like, nah, you don't really want to be a part of this world. And it seems like she kind of has a knack for it in the sense of like she wanted to turn on the camera and make this little show. If she wanted to go in comedy, would you be like, yeah, do it? Like, I'd love that. Or are there any
Yeah.
reservations?
Yes, both of those things
I guess
are
it,
true.
Yes.
it kind of connects to my point, which is like, and I guess a broader thing, like the world your kids live in versus like the world you grew up and lived in, like, and also comedy. Like, what is it? You know what I
Whoa.
mean?
Wow.
I'm giving you more.
Here's the
there.
thing. I just would have stuck with her
Go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Come back to Eddie's. Come back
Took
to
my
Eddie.
If we could edit
question.
that out, that would be
Took my
great.
question and then tried to reword
It's a
it.
two-parter.
Worse.
Ready for it, Annie? It's a
Yeah,
two-parter.
yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's
You
hear it,
want your
Ryan.
kids to be in comedy? And what do you want your kids doing?
Making money.
Okay, cool. Hey,
I-
little bad podcasting. It's all right. We got past it.
It's all right. It's okay. You guys are learning. It's training wheels.
That's right. This is only episode 66, so we're fine.
We're doing
totally
good.
fine.
We're
What
doing
episode? Is this
This
66?
is episode 66.
Oh, the old 666. I like
Oh,
it.
like it.
yeah, just for
That's
you.
pretty
you know?
Thank you
hardcore.
guys. I already said that God doesn't
So
exist. I guess that works out.
Thank you, guys.
If you say it backwards, you say it a lot more
Just kidding.
times.
I'm sure you have some old CYT parents that are just like, oh, no, I can't believe they're talking like that.
I cannot.
When we did our sketch shows, we had a bunch of CYT parents come, and they would write us emails about how we
Isn't
were
that
devil
like kind of the
worshipers
sword
and
of CYT parents?
could you
is
not?
the email? They just love.
They love it. They
to
were
email,
just.
and they're like, I'm gonna send an email,
Isn't
and this
that
is gonna
just-
make change.
John,
You know
how
what I'm
often
saying?
you get emails for this show?
No, I'm just saying. Oh, for this show,
They all go to the spam.
hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah, we never get any.
Dear
But you know
John,
what I'm saying?
it's me, your mom.
Who thinks they're gonna write an email somewhere and like actually change something? You know?
Well, I will tell you this. I have written several emails to fast food establishments.
Really?
And I usually get free food out of it. So it works
Hey,
out sometimes.
always.
Yeah, it
You've
works out
never-
So
sometimes.
good.
I once got a fruit roll up package, no fruit roll up in
stop.
it. I called them. I said, "Hey, man, they called their like help net line.
I mean,
got a
that's-
whole free
that's
package
kind
of fruit roll ups.
Oh, well, then
as a
that's
broke
different.
college kid, it meant the world to me.
I guess
You can
like
do it with
there's probably
restaurants, too.
1%, right? Like there's like the 1% of people that do that, and that's
So they're like,
Why
"Yeah,
they
fine.
send
Here's your
quality
free
control.
food,
Well,
whatever."
they just don't. It doesn't. To them, it's not going to matter. Like they just made you happy, and it's going to cost them $5 in the
Yeah,
long
that's
run. You know,
true.
it doesn't really matter. I did. The only time it ever backfired is I wrote. KFC used to do this thing called the double down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was like just the chicken was the sandwich bread or whatever. I don't know what the hell. It was.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
A
I was
heart
like,
attack.
heart
Yeah.
attack.
yeah, and I was like, I'm gonna go get that. And so I went and I got that, and it was the worst thing I'd ever eaten. And so I wrote them, and I was like, the chicken was dry, it was terrible, nothing, it was awful, it was really bad. And then they sent me a coupon for another double down. And I'm like,
That's
I think you missed the point of that.
opposite
was
of what I
aggressive.
wanted.
No, they knew
love
what
that.
they were doing there. That's
I
passive.
did go and get it.
They
I
messed
feel
up.
like I used it.
Yeah,
I did.
again.
For
I
sure.
got in
again.
and I threw it out the window on the way
It was
out.
bad again. I don't want my kids to be artists. No, I'm just kidding.
That's fair. And that's
I
fair.
don't care. We don't care. My wife grew up in theater as well and worked in theater until the pandemic, and so we're both are artistic people, and so it kind of made sense when Amelia, my oldest daughter, was like, "Yeah, I want to go." She just started dancing and doing stuff and singing, and then we did do CYT for a brief time, and she was like, she learned a lesson that we all learned in CYT, which is you don't learn much, which is
It's really
you learned
what
the
you
lesson.
bring.
it's
It's really
really
what you
not.
bring to the
But
table.
it's like it's not. I don't mean that as an insult. Because I made my best friends are literally pretty much from CYT. So
Yeah.
it's a hang. It's more of a hang.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
community
I met
based.
my wife there.
And you trip into
You did.
you trip into Beauty and the Beast or something like that once in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
But so she was kind of having fun, but and
Wanted to
then
learn more,
The
I bet.
she wanted to do more and sing more and stuff. So she takes voice and piano, and she does all the we want her to do whatever she wants to do. So it's
Yeah.
like if she wants to learn something, then that's great. If we can make it happen, we'll make it happen. I was working for a YouTube production company for a while, which is why she wanted to start filming us doing things because she was like obsessed with it.
yeah.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but kids like that age, all they want is to have a camera on.
That's
them.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's upsetting and it's disturbing, and we try to get in front of it, but it's really hard because that's just the way everything's going. Like
Yeah.
especially during the pandemic when they were like on their iPad, and
Oh,
you're like, get
yeah.
off your iPad, and then you're like,
They're
but
like,
get on your iPad,
but get back on
for
there.
school, and then get off of it. Like it's really hard to
Monitor
navigate
it,
that.
yeah.
So that's why we were like, when she wanted to do this, I was like, yeah, I'll do it with you. Like we'll do it
Sure.
together. So then I'll be in charge of what happens. And then she's auditioning for a show coming up in a couple of days. She's auditioning for Sound of Music. She wants to do Sound of Music.
Nice.
Fantastic.
It would be like her first actual show if she does it. So
She's got Louisa in the bag, man.
yeah, well, they gave her they need 3 parts. I live in a place called Temecula, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard
yes,
of Temecula, but they don't really
Temecula.
like they don't like minorities much.
No,
And they
don't have
also,
many.
They
Don't have
also
many.
don't like homosexuals very much.
No.
And they really don't like vaccinations or masks. Basically, whatever Trump says
That's
is
right.
what they really
They like
are.
that
They're into
thing.
that.
Hey.
Yeah.
And so there's this theater company that is like, we need vaccinated kids, and they have trouble filling roles. So they were like, hey, we heard that your daughter likes theater through a person. Would she want to audition? And we didn't know it was happening at all. So we're like, yeah, sure.
And they go, you guys are vaccinated, right?
I mean, I think they probably like,
They must knew.
they whispered it in an email.
Please.
It was like in little type.
Yeah.
You're vaccinated, right?
By the way.
But yeah, so so she got a chance to do it. And she's going to do it. We'll see what happens. They
I love
offer.
it.
They said she got auditioned for 3 roles.
Let's go.
But if she wants to do it, great.
Yeah.
But like every time, it's like we'll see. We'll see what she actually does at a rehearsal and
Yeah.
does with the process. And
Yeah.
it's hard when they're like 8 for you to be like,
You're
really
gonna
commit.
do
Push
this.
past it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because like we're like,
That's it.
I started to work with her on like a thing for CYT when she's, and I was like, found myself going like putting my director hat on and being like, well, you gotta, it's just a little messy. And then I'm like, oh, you're 6. Like, I don't need to.
Right.
It's just
You're
a
like,
little messy. So I
okay.
just want to say, can I give you a few notes?
So I had to
Really
step
quick.
back, And I,
Get your notebook out right now. Come on.
Yeah.
You should
It's
be writing
true.
this
I
down.
mean,
What do you mean? Where's your notebook?
Oh, you don't have a notebook?
every actor has a notebook. Yeah. So mom is kind of handling this audition because
That's good.
she knows that I would probably get a little too in depth.
Yeah.
Really?
My niece she's 5. She'll sometimes hit you with a joke because she's kind of learning. When kids like learn how to. Does your daughter ever hit you with like a one-liner?
My daughter is so cruel.
As most young girls
Yes.
are.
I mean, like
Children.
If you watch the Quarantine Kitchen episodes, like she clearly has great timing.
Yes.
That's built in, which is nice. But we raised her wrong. We raised her with sarcasm.
Yes.
And because to us, we were like, that's fun, to be sarcastic to a little kid. Like, and
Got her.
it really has bitten us hard.
Yeah.
She, the other day, told me in the car, she said, what did she say to me in the car? I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was something to the effect of like, you're not funny. And I was just like, what do you mean? She's like, do you think you're funny? Like she said something like that. And I looked at her and she like had a little smirk on her face. And I was just like, are you being mean to me right now? And she was just like, no. Like that. I was like, oh my God.
gaslighting
Like,
you? She's like gaslighting you?
she's like, and she'll just do those things. Like she'll jab you. Like she'll walk in with my wife and she'll just be like, are you wearing that shirt? Like stuff like that. And you're like, whoa,
Excuse me?
But she nails it hard. She nails it.
Yeah.
She did a thing the other day though. Like, my mom died a couple years ago, and we were in the car maybe like 6 months ago and playing Baby Shark.
Yeah.
But she wanted to listen to it ironically.
No, my freaking way.
She's like, I don't really like it, but like it's whatever,
fun.
like that kind of a
She's
thing.
Get on and see what we think.
No,
you
she's
know?
like, it's camp,
Yeah,
like it's.
she says cringy. Cringy's
Yes.
a big
Oh,
word.
cringy's big.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
cringe, but
Cringe.
So my wife was like, we're not gonna play the song. She's like, I'm not gonna listen to Baby Shark. And so then she just started singing the song. And we went through all the family members,
Yes.
and she said, "Grandma Shark is dead, 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 dead. Grandma Shark is dead, 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 dead." And I could not stop laughing. It was the funniest thing.
that's good.
But it's just so funny. Like that is
So
inherently
good.
funny.
Yeah.
And the fact that she knew that I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
That I would think it was funny.
She's
And
testing the
she was
waters on that
giggling.
one.
Like it,
She's like,
yeah, she knows what's up.
she's like, hey,
She farts and she laughs. Like she's a very funny person. Whether I want her to go into comedy or not is another thing. Theater is, oddly enough, I would prefer theater.
almost safer. Yeah.
Like comedy is
Truly.
just such a, people stand-ups are so sad. We're all sad. We're all sad.
Isn't that
people.
like
It's that
whole
Irish
thing.
Catholic thing you've got going
a lot
for
of
you.
guilt,
So,
a lot of guilt built
It's
up.
the guilt. It's the guilt.
Alcoholism and yeah, it's fun. It's a good time.
It's a good time. It's a laugh.
It's a laugh.
It's
I mean,
a laugh.
it's funny. We went to Ireland a couple of years ago, and just to see them, how they interact and live is like, I get it. I get everything about this. You are all so drunk and so happy.
sad.
Yeah.
Yet
But they're
so-
happy
yeah.
then, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
and then if you ever see them not at a bar, it looks like they've just worked harder than they've ever worked in their lives.
Yeah.
And they're like, just like, and everybody wants to get out of Ireland, and I'm like, I want to get in. Like, what are you guys talking about? Have you ever
There's
been
something
anywhere
in
else?
on
Yeah.
this. There's something they know that I don't know.
Yeah, like this guy in Dublin, I was a driver for us on the way to the airport. And he was telling us like how he couldn't wait to get out of Dublin. He was going to move to LA. And we're like,
You're like,
why?
No.
Why would you come to LA?
No.
And he was like, I'm not going to do a terrible
Go ahead.
Irish accent, but he was talking about wanting to be an actor or something like that. It was just like the weirdest thing. And I'm like, listen, man, I worked in LA for years. Like,
You're like,
stay
not gonna
here.
happen.
Stay
Not
right
gonna
here.
He was like,
happen.
The
I was
Emerald
okay.
Isles.
Yeah, it was very
He's
strange.
like, well, that's my life, right? I'm made to suffer.
Were you gonna do a
so
little
funny.
accent there?
What's that?
Were you gonna
There
do a
is
little
a
accent
hint.
there?
There was a little bit of a hint.
I really thought about it.
You should have committed because
That's my life. I've been made to suffer.
There you go.
It's okay. It's
No,
okay.
That's fine. You could have done worse.
Yeah, I could have.
You could have done
I
worse.
could have done worse.
Yeah.
that's great.
First
Yeah.
one's free, John. Next one will cost you.
Kids are great.
Oh,
Are
I
you
know.
guys going to have kids?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
pregnant, actually.
No, don't say that.
don't start that.
Bombshell.
That would be how it happened.
Episode
though.
666.
Episode 66. Dropping
Right? You
bombs.
just go, yeah, on air, you'd be like, yeah, we're pregnant. We're like, wait, what? Are you being serious?
And like next week, I'm like,
6'6",
yeah, we
man.
told you guys.
Oh, we didn't say it? Oh,
No, it'd be
shoot.
about like 7 months later, and we're like, Cara, are you actually pregnant? She's like, yeah, we told
No,
you
it's
7
a bit
months ago.
serious.
It'll still
Dropping
be a bit
bombs,
though.
dropping babies.
Pretty
Episode
funny.
66.
Someday,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get you.
you know,
I understand. I was 33 when we had our first kid.
good for you.
So thank
That's
you.
my that's my target age.
There's a $1,000
I was supporting
bet.
your decision to wait. You don't do
I'm
the dick
supporting.
back to me
I'm
for no
supporting
reason.
you for supporting me.
There's a $1,000 bet on this. Is that right?
Yeah.
There is.
Is it public?
On what?
Should I not?
You know my sister. No, this is funny. No,
Okay,
it's-
cool. I just
it's
wanna
good.
make sure.
My sister bet me, and
Not
and
just you.
No. Okay.
no,
well,
you weren't
I'm
there
part of
actually.
this.
Well, okay, you're a part of
Kara's
it.
yelling
but
from
I
the
guess
technically-
sidelines.
that within the first 2 years of our marriage, we will have a child,
Oh,
And if they
okay.
hold out,
All right.
and if we hold out, I get $1,000.
What she doesn't know is Ryan vasectomy years ago.
right.
years
Oh, wow.
ago, she's never having kids.
I did.
Joke's
Yeah.
on her. It's
I-
gonna be a lot longer
yeah.
than 2 years. I'll tell you that much.
That's rough, man.
It's gonna be like
it was
that
incredibly
Twilight
painful.
Zone.
And where are you with this?
She had no idea about that, but
She-
she found out right now.
Oh, I'm fine with it.
She's fine with it.
The
She knows what can
vasectomy
happen.
or-
What part? The waiting?
Yeah.
I will say,
right.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a grand?
yeah.
Right?
I'd wait for a
$1,000.
grand. If somebody was like, hey,
A kid
$1,000
would
bucks if
cost
you don't
way
get pregnant.
more.
Easy.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like, just in general, having a kid in less than 2 years from right now.
You don't want a
feels
kid, John?
Kind of like a lot, I don't really know when's a good age. We should be asking you.
33.
When's a good age? That's
You're
the
also here to
greatest-
give us advice as
Well,
parents, budding parents.
My wife is younger than me, and she wanted to be done having kids by the time she was 30. And we got in. Let's see, we just had one, not just one. She's almost one.
Yeah.
So my wife is 32. 31?
She was
31,
close.
32.
It was close.
So she was
Like
close.
horseshoes.
She was close. We were almost done. I waited till I was 33 to have the first one. And we didn't really think about having another one after that. And then we just decided we would have another one because why not?
Yeah.
I feel like most of the time you get the second kid when the first one starts to get a little big for their britches, and you're like, you're kind of becoming a jerk. We got to get you a second one.
It does
Yeah.
help.
Right?
It
Only
has
children
helped.
are.
Yeah, we kind of did that because our Amelia was turning into kind of a little brat. And we were like, you know what? She's going to have to really
Chop the legs off. Bring in that second child.
It's funny.
Yeah.
The first month though, she was so excited, and then she just took a turn, and she was
Always,
like, she
always.
literally verbally yelled, "My life was better before Quinn." And I was like,
is
I thought that was
awesome.
amazing. And my
I
buddy Joe
love
was
the
like,
energy for her.
"She's right. Her life was better before Quinn." Like,
Technically
she's
speaking-
completely correct.
Okay,
And I'm
thanks,
like,
She had
Joe.
"That's a
all
good
the
point."
money.
Okay,
she
Joe.
had all
Like,
the
seriously?
Thinking
attention.
it from that perspective, like, yeah, she was right. Her life was way better.
I'm glad she has an advocate in Joe, though. I mean, that's good.
Joe just had his second too, and he's my age. So they just had their second. Yeah, it's crazy. There's never a right time to have kids. Although I will say this:
Okay.
don't wait too long. That's all.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Like
All right.
30. If I
Fair.
could have had the second one sooner, if we would have thought about it sooner, I would have.
Yeah.
But I'm 41, and like I'm pretty old.
Yeah.
Like I feel
that old.
I'm not that old. I'm young at heart, and but that's it. Like the rest of my
I'll say-
body was
Sure.
so hurt.
My
Just-
parents had me at I'm 30. My mom was 39 and my dad was 43.
Yeah.
And granted, my sister is 6 years older than me, so I'm the comedic relief. Her life was much better before me, truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
You are the comedic.
So there
relief.
you
Yeah.
go. You get it.
Yeah. So, but I will say there was a moment. My father brings this up often. He holds this against me when he
Okay.
picked me up from kindergarten, and
Yeah.
some kid asked me like, "Annie, your grandpa's here or your dad's here. I don't. Is it your daddy or grandpa?" And I forbid him from ever picking me up again.
Really?
Yeah, I said you are not allowed to pick me up
Yeah.
ever again.
I'm going to have that moment. With
Yeah, I
her.
was gonna-
like,
wait,
there's no way.
wait.
I
I'm
get
and
it.
you know
surprised
what?
you
She'll feel
just-
bad about it. I'll tell you now because I do.
I don't know.
Oh,
you just
I,
like stonewalled him and said you can't pick me up anymore.
Oh, yes,
I
I
probably
said-
would have been like, yeah, that's my grandpa.
Yeah, just
Come on,
sold the
Grandpa.
grandpa bit.
Yeah, I would. And you know what? I
That's
would embrace
cheaper.
that. If
Yeah.
Quinn just
Yeah.
turned and she's like, "Grandpa," I'd be like, "I get it."
You're like,
Hello, sweetie.
I'll dye my beard and I'll put a wig on.
Yes. Yes.
Just fully
Yeah.
commit further and further into it. That's
Yeah.
A
good.
couple of years ago, we did go to. My wife is, like I said, she's younger than me and looks younger than she is. On top of that, which doesn't help. But we went to a birthday party with Amelia, and the mom of the other girl thought that my wife was Amelia's older sister, and that I was both of their dads.
Yep.
And that was a fun moment
That's
for me.
right.
That's me.
Wow.
Just call
You're
me
like,
Dad.
then,
Jeez.
But then for a moment, though, you kind of feel rad. Like as
Yeah.
a man who's like older, you're like, heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
right.
rolling. That's
My
right.
wife's young. You know,
Yeah.
young. I mean, not illegally.
I mean, not like
it's fine. She's
the
30.
perfect amount of young.
Yeah.
Fine.
Not illegally young.
Yeah,
the
she
legal amount of
She
young.
looks great. Stop calling the police.
What are you doing? No,
Please
put your phone
stop
down.
calling the police.
We're at a Chuck E. Cheese. I got the stamps.
No,
fine. They're with
that's
me.
the kid, and no, she doesn't have a stamp. You see?
Listen, I get it.
She's the adult.
Yeah, we had at our wedding. We had a lot of jokes about that, about how I was going to die before her and stuff.
Whoa.
That's pretty funny.
My dad
It is
wants
funny.
to. He's like, he tells my mom all the time. He goes, "That's an after me problem. You figure that out after
Yeah.
I die."
That is
Yeah,
post
we
me.
have
An
the same kind of
after
me
conversations where it's
problem.
like
Yeah.
she really doesn't want me to die first, but I'm like, it's gonna happen.
You're
Yeah.
like, babe,
You are
listen.
clearly healthier than
Wow.
Somebody thought I was your dad. Like,
me. Yeah, like
I'm
I,
You're like,
gonna die
obviously.
first.
I started going gray at 25, and I started thinking at 27. Like, I'm gonna die before you. Like, there's just no real choice I have
It's
here.
just a fact of the matter.
the way it
You're like,
works.
my
Dallas,
decay's
you
just
have
getting
been-
Sorry,
harder.
do we have to go? we have to
I'm-
wrap up.
This is my wrap. Dallas, you've been an
Oh, yeah, I do
absolute
have to go.
joy.
I got a show tonight, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. That's really
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah, you know, it's super cool.
So we're like,
Any last words for the viewers at home?
Go buy my album, Rough
Hey.
Drafts, Stories to Drink To. It's available everywhere except Spotify. Sorry, Ryan.
Yes,
That's
screw
right.
Spotify.
Hey,
Screw Spotify.
You know what? I might be canceling my
We're
Spotify
canceling it.
tonight.
Don't, yeah, it
Just-
doesn't matter. It's not going to change anything. That's what I love about all those protests. I'm canceling Spotify.
Right.
Okay.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
They don't care. There's like
the listener
million
count
trillion.
of Neil Young versus Joe Rogan was the sticking point for us when we were talking about
5
it.
million on Neil Young monthly listeners, and there's 170 million monthly listeners for Joe Rogan.
Have you guys ever listened to Joe Rogan's podcast?
He's quite the
Bits
guy.
and pieces of it, yeah.
I listened to a long time ago because I host podcasts myself from time to time.
Yeah.
And used to a lot more. And so I was listening to it, and I'm like, this is the most insane stuff I've ever heard. But I'm like, there's no way he's believing any of this. No. And I still maintain that. I still maintain.
He's kind of playing it, right? Like devil's advocate, just, well, you never know.
Yeah.
Right?
And I know, like, as far as the racist thing, like, he shouldn't be using the N-word. But I know, I know a lot of black comics who go on the show and are friends with him and came out in support of him. And I'm like, well, if they're supporting him, like, what right do I have to say that he's wrong? I'm not the guy who would be offended by that word. But like, but yeah, so but I just, it's all for clicks and downloads. Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Well, sorry, you still
Sorry
can't
to retread it.
You still can't say the word on our show. So
what, Rogan?
Yeah, not that one.
Every time you say it, we're bleeping it out with
That's right. We're still on Spotify, so that's
get that Spotify money if you can.
Yeah, hey. No, it's cents on the dollar. So it doesn't matter.
It's so terrible. Thank you for having me. I know you keep trying to wrap up, but I'm going to keep dragging it. I can't.
Hey,
Please do. If I
It's
could
really
continue to talk to you for another hour, I would. But
I appreciate that for having me, guys, and making me park far away from the house. That was nice too.
Yes, of course.
I hope it's not raining.
Your steps in.
You said your dad's in band practice?
Yeah.
What band is your dad?
Yeah.
My dad's in
Multiple bands.
Like a cover
tonight,
band?
it's a quartet. It's a euphonium tuba quartet tonight.
Stop it right now.
So if you
It
want
is the
to
coolest
pass
thing ever.
through in there,
You're going to want to
tuba?
pass through.
he plays euphonium. It's a
What is
smaller
euphonium?
version of tuba.
That's the
Lesser known
greatest thing.
version.
This is the greatest thing I've ever
Smaller
heard.
tuba. Dallas, our outro is equally as obnoxious.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just
Look at it. He keeps trying to cut it off.
here
Let's
it
talk
is.
more about the tuba.
This is for you.
Next,
Yeah.
No, I know. I got
come
to
on
make
my
it to La
podcast
Jolla.
next
I
time.
got to be in La Jolla in 15 minutes.
Jeez.
So,
Same.
Just
We'll
kidding,
see you
just
The
kidding.
Jet's
next
about to be
week
here.
on
What the podcast?